Welcome to Find the Connection, the podcast where we explore the history, development, events, and stories that make Northeast Florida so inviting. I'm your host, Kendra Robertson, a real estate professional, community leader, wellness ambassador, and proud resident of Jacksonville Beach for over 30 years. In each episode, we'll dive into the stories of the people that are making a difference, both at a local level and nationally. We'll share an inside look at real estate with tips for maintaining work-life balance, from winning your mornings to winning your day, all while staying connected with our vibrant local community. So grab your coffee, get comfortable, and let's find the connection between community and living your best life. So today I have Ellen Glasser, who I know as the Atlantic Beach Mayor for the city of Atlantic Beach, and we are on an island, and at one time city of Atlantic Beach, city of Neptune Beach, and city of Jacksonville Beach all had women mayors, which I absolutely loved. But I really don't know much about you besides when you were in office. So how did you end up in Atlantic Beach? Let's start there.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for asking me to be on your podcast in Kendra World. How did I end up in Atlantic Beach? There's a real estate angle to this. I mean, I moved here from Seattle, where I was stationed with the FBI in 1999, came to Jacksonville and was so overwhelmed by sort of the size of it. And something about me gravitated to Atlantic Beach with my kids. And I remember I had a realtor at the time, and I was saying, okay, tell me about the soccer programs. Tell me about the gymnastics programs. Tell me about the schools. Tell me, how far it is to get from one place to the other. Because I came from a very small community, and Jacksonville was overwhelming. But and my realtor didn't know the answers to those questions. And so I just kind of went on my own, reconnaissance mission with my kids and just fell in love with Atlantic Beach and the fact that it is still a small town. It was when I moved here, and it was a great place to raise my family. And, it doesn't hurt that it's next to the beach, next to the water. And, so I never looked back on that. I love Atlantic Beach. I love the three beach cities, and I think we're special out here.
We really are. How old were your kids when you moved here?
Well, let's see. I had two in elementary school. One was going to be in middle school, and the other, had not really. He was still a baby. Okay. So they were all over the map, but I moved around quite a bit in the FBI, and it was always traumatic for my kids. So really everything about the move was focused on what was going to work for them. If I had to drive further to work, I was going to do that, but I didn't want to be carting them all over the county to try to get to activities. And it was tough for them. But now, years later, I mean, none of them live in Atlantic Beach, but they all say that's their hometown.
Right. Yeah. So do you have a military background that you ended up in the FBI?
No, I don't. My ex-husband was in the military. He was a Navy SEAL, and I have many of my close family relatives. My dad, my sister were in the military, so I have a keen and very large respect for what they do. So being in a military community, a military town, was a plus for me. I really worked my way into the FBI through the criminal justice arena. So I thought I wanted to be a social worker, and then I decided that I liked sort of the real crime stories better. So I was a parole officer before I came into the FBI. I got the requisite graduate degrees because they only hire the best and the finest in the FBI, and then was recruited heavily because at the time there weren't very many women agents in the FBI. So it sort of appealed to my service sensibility and to my desire for adventure and to move around. So I met my husband on the job, and so we really had it just really remarkable careers together that if I have time, I'm going to write about it because it's like funny and serious, and to have all these kids running around at the same time, it was crazy. I mean, I people called me Agent Mom, so
Well, you seem to jump into all of your projects like 100%, you know?
well, I do. I find purpose through the work. I mean, so it's probably explaining some shortfall that I have in terms of my social skills because everything that I do is really work and service and family focused. And I mean, I'm not going to apologize for that because it's worked really well for me.
Right.
But if I'm doing something, I want to have a job, right? Give me something to do. Even if I go to a party, give me a job to do because I like just being busy with that. It just makes me feel purposeful.
I know for me, it was the kids entering elementary school that I really started tapping into the volunteering. So when did service become a priority for you?
Well, in the FBI, I mean, you basically are expected to work at least a minimum of 10 hours a day. And then you're on call. So I mean, I really couldn't do many of the things that I wanted to in terms of the rest of the community while I was actively working as an FBI agent. So a lot of that started really when I came to Jacksonville. And because I didn't really have the network that a lot of people have from just living here forever. I mean, I had to sort of start from scratch. So I would look at things I was interested in. I went to city meetings early on. I mean, but much sooner than when I ran for office. And then I looked at other boards and commissions in Jacksonville to serve on. I served on a few of those, and then lots of other places, Beaches Habitat. I mean, I've been on a lot of different boards, and then I had to also make time to be the team mom for my kids who are all athletes. And so even if I didn't know anything about swimming or pole vaulting or gymnastics, I mean, I was there with the oranges and the snacks and cheering for them. So I was the team mom for several of my kids' teams. It's
Right.
just I like being busy. It just makes me feel like I'm being productive.
And has that changed since you've been retired? Are you
Um,
still just as busy?
yes and no. I mean, I retired the first time from the FBI in 2006, and I thought it was going to give me a chance to have more quality time with my kids, and I realized they were too old for that. They weren't interested in that, and so I quickly pivoted to do other things. I went back to school, earned my doctorate, and then I started doing some of these community and civic activities. So I mean, the list just kept getting bigger, and so at this point, now that I've retired, I think for maybe the fourth time, I am learning to say no to some things and focus my energy on one or two things, and that's a change for me. But it's a good change, and it's something that I needed to do in order to have an impact with whatever I did. If it's being a grandmother, I mean, I need to be present as a grandmother.
Right.
I am currently the president of the Beaches Homeless Coalition, and when you decide to do something like that, I mean, you want to be present with it. I mean, and so I've changed the way that I serve, but I'm just as active as I used to be. The only real difference, and this is huge, is that I really try not to do anything before about 10 o'clock in the morning. Because I really love being able to go to bed when I want to and wake up when I want to. And it just has relieved a lot of the sort of artificial stress that I used to have with lists in my head about,
Right.
I need to be this, I need to do that. I mean, and it's been therapeutic too, to be retired but still serving.
Well, it sounds like a good boundary that you set for yourself.
Well, I try. You're the same way. You're always doing many things.
I
So
know, and my goal this year was really to try and get my overfull volunteer card a little
yeah.
less full. And I agree. I think like trying to make a difference. I have felt overwhelmed, and for me, I find myself when things fall through, I'm the one picking up the pieces,
Yeah.
and
There's been a couple times this year that I'm like, I can't pick up the pieces. If we can't do this, we're just not going to do it, you know?
Well, that's a healthy attitude, but here we're sort of giving each other feedback, but it's like looking in a mirror, and then she calls and says, "I think I'm going to start a podcast." So,
Well, and
right?
it really hit me. Like, there's just so many stories that people don't know, and the history of so many things. And um,
And the interesting people. I mean, from all walks of life. I mean, I
right,
have to say, I when I was the mayor, I had more connections to like the police or people that I could say, well, what happened to this person? I haven't seen him for a while. I mean, we have some characters at the beach, and then one day you just stop seeing them walking around, and you wonder what happened. I mean, I just think that the stories about these people are worth telling.
right.
So good on you for recognizing that there are a lot of stories out there that aren't being told.
So, what called you to actually run to be mayor? Like, what made you say, I can do this?
Well, I'm just going to go back to that idea of being purposeful in things. I was very successful in the FBI because I had a lot of good organizational skills and I could communicate well, and I didn't seem to have any agendas that would get in the way of that. Um, so, I thought that would translate to politics like a long, long time ago. And I'd always been interested in that, interested in politics, even though the FBI is and was apolitical, whether people want to believe that or not. But when I retired from the FBI, my first retirement, I started to going to meetings again, and I just thought, I think we can do better than the current leadership. So really, without much forethought, I tossed my name into the ring because I just thought I can do better. Most of what happens in cities is not political, or it shouldn't be political. So I said, I think I can manage that better. I mean, there had been some issues related to staff. A lot of staff had left the city of Atlantic Beach. It was, relying on our local beaches newspaper, just reading about things that I just thought, can't they just sit down in a room and mediate this so that, we can figure out how to move forward. So that was really the impetus for it. And it was an article in the Beaches Leader about like how the city manager granted an administrative variance for something that was like, maybe an inch and a half. And I just thought, okay, we can do better than this. Let's focus on the big picture. And so I ran, and without any political experience or a group of people or a fundraising strategy, I was successful in that first run. And so I was kind of an unknown to a lot of people. It took people a while to get used to me. And hopefully a large percentage began to trust me because I am kind of a straight shooter. And I'm not really predictable in terms of like, am I going to agree with this and not agree with that? I mean, it really is about sort of the merits of that case. And it's sort of like being in law enforcement, looking at the evidence and saying, okay, what can you prove? What can you not prove? What's the best outcome? And so I just used those skills as mayor. And I still can't believe that I did it. It really was so for somebody like me who's used to sort of operating in the background. I've always said I'd love to be somebody's number two, not the number one, but to then be in that number one spot, it was
Right.
really an amazing experience, and I'm pleased that I was able to step up and do that for the most part. And I made great relationships. I don't think I burned any bridges at the time when I was doing that, and I learned a lot. And I mean, I wish both my parents are gone, but I wish they had lived to see me do that because it was just such a great privilege for me.
Right.
So
So
that
is
was the first term. So I ran and I got elected for one term, and then I ran for reelection, and won by a pretty wide margin in the next race. Probably got the most votes than anybody ever got in Atlantic Beach. So that's a point of pride for me. So I had
yeah,
five good years as mayor.
you had a really good presence, I think. Is there anything that you're particularly proud of besides a landslide vote for a second term?
Well, and I didn't run for the third term. I mean, things sort of changed in my life, and I didn't run that time. And then I thought for a minute about coming back again, and then some health issues got in the way. But what am I proud of? It takes a long time for you to have an idea in city government and then to bring it through and have it executed. So even in the last year, some of the projects that my commissions started are actually being completed, and I take a lot of pride in them. I mean, you mentioned the thing about the 3 beach mayors at one time being women. That was fun. It wasn't sort of an end in itself. Certainly you don't have to, doesn't matter what gender you are to be a mayor. Anybody can do it. And,
Right.
yeah, well, and sometimes sometimes that's not great, that anybody can do it. But in any event, I was really proud to work with the other beach women mayors. That was great. And then there was a time in Atlantic Beach where all of our commissioners were women. So it was a very unique time. I thought it was newsworthy, but nobody really talked about it very much. It just is what it is. But I mean, that really wasn't a goal that I set. It just happened to be a great byproduct of being the mayor at that time. But so a lot of things that we did. We really did shift the focus more onto resiliency and the environment. We're a tree city. Atlantic Beach does have
Very strict.
different look and feel than other cities, and I for one would like to preserve that, because if we don't work on it now, it will be gone before we know it. So I mean, I was really proud of those initiatives. We did get our staff sort of pinging on all levels. We did build a really good cohesive staff. And I did sort of look at that like a family, because we worked very well together, and I knew my lane. I didn't tell the staff what to do, but they knew what I stood for.
Right.
Supported law enforcement in many ways. But a couple of the things that I've been seeing lately that make me really proud is I really pushed hard for a splash pad on the west side of Atlantic Beach. And after I left office, it had been budgeted. We'd done all the legwork in the community, done the process the way I think you should. And then, boom, everything costs more, and they really wanted to scrap that project. And so I went back to City Hall. A bunch of my friends and neighbors went to talk about, what do the kids need on that side of town? A lot of those kids never go to the beach, don't know how to swim.
Right.
It's hotter than Hades in the summertime. I think that cities exist to provide some amenities for the people that live there. I mean, I think that was part of our charge when we got elected. So, yes, it did cost more than originally planned, but somehow we won the day, and that got built. And so last year the splash pad was built. It's very nice. I like to go by there and look at the little kids that are going to be voting for a long time and feel like, okay, we did something for them. And then most recently, we had some concerns about health and safety for our lifeguards at the lifeguard station there at Town Center. And so we worked on Jacksonville to give us some money to help rebuild that. And again, it stalled a little bit after I left office, but it got back on track. And I know it was really through singular efforts that the police department and our commission made to get that to be a priority, and then to get Jacksonville to give us about over $500,000 to do that. And so now we have a new refurbished lifeguard station, which is still in the architectural tradition of William Morgan, the famed architect.
Right, the original designer of it, right?
So again, part of being in a small town is that, even knowing that tearing down a structure like that could make waves, we worked with the community to find a way to respect the architectural tradition of that building. And so I think it's a win for everybody. I love that our young lifeguards are going to be working in a safe space where there's no mold. Their jobs are really important. We entrust them with a lot of responsibility to save our lives when we need them. And so I thought it was a no-brainer. So those are two recent things, but there are other things. I mean, I was really big on ceremonies to recognize the work that had been done before me. I mean, I could give you a long list, but I left the office of mayor with about a three-page list of things that I didn't get to. And so, you just can't do it all. It's like the city managers, I had two of them that I worked with, and it was like, they saw me coming every week with my list. And, we might mark one thing off, and then there were four more things on there. So a lot of them focusing on quality of life issues, because again,
Right.
we're a small town. I mean, we're very responsive to our residents. It's not like living in New York or living in Jacksonville. We really tried to do what our residents expected of us.
Well, you were a big part of just the beautification of Mayport Road.
That is
as
true.
well, correct?
That's true. Well, not just beautification, but safety. I mean, one of the things I came in to do was we had a youngster that was hit by a car going to Mayport Middle School. And, that was one of the things that, I talked about all the time. We did manage to get a speed limit reduction through Atlantic Beach. We created like a district for some of the growth and cultural things that are happening along Mayport Road. And I was reading in the Jacksonville news not too long ago that people were saying, well, there's more happening along Mayport Road than there's happening in downtown Jacksonville. And I'm going, yes. But, I mean, unfortunately, we lost a grocery store and then didn't get another one back. So that's what we really need. But now it's just about how much commercial real estate costs. I mean, I don't know if we'll be able to accomplish that. So
Right.
that's the one trade-off, is that we lost the one Food Lion, and we did not get another grocery store back.
So, having been a part of the cities at the beach and all the projects that you've had going on, what's your perception of how the city of Jacksonville supports or works with the cities?
Well, we depend on Jacksonville for a lot of important county services, not the least of which is our fire services, right? I mean, and we've had fires in Atlantic Beach where they have sent, the whole army of apparatus to Atlantic Beach to help us out. So, important county services. I mean, we don't have, the county jail's not here. I mean, JSO helps us augment the police when we have special events and things like that. But the formula that is used to determine how much of our tax dollars goes to Jacksonville to support those county services is antiquated. And it needs to be revisited and renegotiated. And unfortunately, the timing for this is probably not good because everything costs more now. I mean, even last year, I mean, it's been an issue for several years, is just the double taxation. We are paying into the Jacksonville General Fund that helps to pay for garbage fee pickups for Jacksonville. We already pay for our garbage fees at the beach. It's a fee-based thing. People pay what it costs. And yet in Jacksonville, they didn't feel comfortable charging the citizens of Jacksonville what it actually costs to pick up your trash. So, they're borrowing our money to do that. That is unacceptable. And the same thing with schools. I mean, we were all hit by surprise when they talked about closing down Atlantic Beach Elementary and other schools at the beach. And so, we should not be at the end of those conversations. We should be at the beginning of those conversations. And so I think there's definitely work to do. I would probably be more aggressive than what we have seen lately, but at least people are talking about it, which is great. And I think we will see some adjustments, but we are paying too much in our taxes to support Jacksonville.
Well, it's interesting. I feel like I've been in such a bubble at the beach, and talking to people like you, just, it's like opening my mind of, wow, there's so much more out there, that I want to get involved in or I want to learn about. Because, we're such a tight-knit little community, and, it's been great raising kids. When the thing came up with the school closures, I had sat through town meetings like 15 years ago when they were talking about doing the same thing. And all the young parents now were panicking. They're going to close Atlantic Beach Elementary. I'm like, they're not closing anything. I sat through all those meetings years ago and it never happened. It's like
the one this last year, and people did say, oh, I don't think they're going to close Atlantic Beach Elementary, but we became kind of a pariah where, here you're going to let this school that's got all these wealthy people that live there, and we can't look like we're just going to like cave to them. We shouldn't have been on the list to start with. There was so much wrong with how they collected data on that. And even if you just sort of take Atlantic Beach out of the picture, there's a lot going on in the state and in federal government in terms of sort of privatizing elements of public school education.
Right.
And it's the amount of money that some charter schools are getting compared to what other public schools are not getting is really shocking, and you have to be really vigilant to those issues. It's hard to follow it all, but
it really is.
But the one really wonderful thing about that experience is that a group of Atlantic Beach, mostly parents, but some of the rest of us, got involved in that really early, and it was undeniable that we were going to fight this, and the young parents, probably the next generation of mayors and commissioners was in that group, and they were awesome. They did such an amazing job. I mean, so I'm really proud of those people that did that effort. And had that not happened, there were schools at the end of the day when they took Atlantic Beach off the list, schools that got added to the list, not at the beaches, that are going to close down, and they didn't have the benefit of time and organization that we did by starting at the very beginning. And I felt bad about that. But even now, I'm not sure what the fate of Anchor Academy is going to be, because that's in Jacksonville, it's at the beaches, but it didn't have the same sort of level of support that you saw from Atlantic Beach with our school. So, you can't get too comfortable and feel like you're too safe, because something could happen tomorrow that changes that.
Right. And when my kids were young, there are a lot of options, all the magnet programs and, schools throughout Jacksonville. And ultimately, it's just being involved as a parent, that I think my goal was just raising 3 daughters, surviving puberty with their self-esteem intact, and being involved in their school and their homework and making sure they were doing great.
Well, I know when I moved here, they were talking about whether kids should wear uniforms, and that just seems like such a benign issue now. I mean, I'm sure it would be a huge deal if somebody tried to do that, but now they're talking about closing schools or renovating schools. I mean, it's just the stakes are so high.
All right, so you are retired, you've got lots of things going on. The last time we really talked, you were talking about the walk to the El Camino. Is it El Camino?
It's the Camino de Santiago.
Okay.
So it's St. James Way. It's a religious walk across Spain. There are several routes, but I did the traditional French route, which is about close to 600 miles.
So was it the religious piece or the physical piece that attracted to you?
Both. And I'd never been to Spain. And I had a friend that had done it, and I talked to her about it, and I said, well, maybe I'll start with a shorter route. And she said, no, you've done this and that, you can do this. So I did. I dove into it and said, well, I'm going to do the whole thing. And I did it by myself last year. And so it is a way to be introspective. I would walk, every day. Did it in about 36 days. And
36 days.
Right, and I would.
You were on that trail for 36 days.
Well, when you say trail, I mean it is supported by people that live in these little towns along the way, and so in order to boost their economy, they've opened up their homes to let people in. during the season when people are walking. And so you're really never more than a few kilometers away from another small town. So so it wasn't really a trail, but you would start in the morning and really not know where you were going to end up that day. And I would spend really the first half of every day pretty much by myself. And then, and then find a place that I wanted to stay that night and, have a few glasses of wine and some good food and then start over again. But it really was a chance to, sort of think about what's important in my life. What kind of person do I want to be for the rest of my life? It was a faith journey. I did like my own little Bible study along the way, and I would do that in the morning with podcasts, and then going into the cathedrals, and I stayed in monasteries. I mean, it was definitely a chance to reconnect with your faith. I'm not Catholic, but I had a tremendous respect for what the Catholic community has done there. And the one thing that was so amazing about it is that, when you go to church in the U.S. and you hear these stories about Jesus and all that he represents in the world, and then you go to a place like that, and you're actually walking in the same place that his apostles walked. I mean, it's not made up stuff; it's real stuff, and they're buried there. And it's like, I mean, it made it so real to me that it was really a transformational experience for me. And I can't believe I did it. I mean, it's sort of like being mayor. I can't believe I did it. I can't believe I had all those kids when I was little. I mean, I can't believe I was the mayor. I can't believe I walked the Camino, but it was just marvelous.
So that led to Kilimanjaro.
Well, not directly. I thought the Camino was really my last hurrah because I'm definitely in my seventh decade here. So that was a thing where my son and I were sitting on a sofa one night, and he had a break between a couple of things that he was doing, and I said, well, you really haven't traveled overseas very much. Is there anything you want to do? And then we together decided, well, let's try to summit Kilimanjaro. And it was not very and our judgment was not terrific on that. It was great, it was really great, but we didn't plan it as much as I planned for the Camino. And it was equally life altering. I mean, I'd never been to Africa before, and I'm not much of a tourist. I mean, I want to have an activity, I want to have a purpose, right? So this gave me that, and it was a great way to reconnect with my son, who's wonderful. In fact, and he and then another of my grown daughters came with me, and so it was a really wonderful experience. And of course, Kilimanjaro is the fourth tallest mountain in the world, and it's all it's up to over 19,000 feet. You're definitely.
Did you make it to the top?
I got within about 500 meters of the top, and I had an injury that kept me from getting all the way to the top. But it was really a great learning experience because it's really not always about getting to where you think you're going to get. I got as far as I could, and I really felt like I had like a religious moment in this really, quiet place on Mount Kilimanjaro with two people who were helping me, and that was my summit, and I'm really proud of it because I went as far as my body would let me go, and I would not let them take me off the mountain. I walked all the way down. They wanted to provide me with some medical support, and I refused, and I do feel like I laid my soul out on that mountain, and so it was a pretty religious experience.
Wow, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, I wish I'd tried it maybe 30 or 40 years ago because it would have been a lot easier.
So what's the next climb? What's the next mountain that you're gonna?
I don't have a real mountain. I've got my mountains are in my head where I really want to write about some of the things that I've done. I suffered, like many people, not just because of the pandemic, but just because you get older, people that I love who have passed away. And I have some things that I would like to put on paper. So I'm going to focus on that at least for the next year, and my grandchildren. So this is a good calibration for me. I don't have to go out and climb some mountain to do something that's important. So that's the plan. And I'm going to continue to be active with the Beaches Homeless Coalition. And then occasionally I'm going to go to City Hall if I don't like something that they're doing and just remind them, that we want to try to retain as much of our small town charm as we can. I mean, not arguing that change happens. But, I look at social media and see every day people commenting that it's not the same as it used to be. And, it's never going to be, but let's not cut down all the trees, right?
Right.
Let's try not to flood our neighbors' yards. So, let's try to keep our little community school open where people can walk there. I mean, those are things that are important. So I'm just going to be a presence for that. That's what I'm going to do. I've had a great life. I have no complaints. I mean, everything has just been, it's almost like God laid it out for me and said, okay, you're going to be able to do all these things. Just be patient. And so I do feel truly blessed.
Well, I can't wait to read what you write.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, before I got on this on your show, I was listening to some of the other podcasts, and I was so impressed by your other guests. I mean, I have learned a lot about them. So, thank you for getting pulling those threads out of us to get us to tell our stories, because it's really. I mean, people don't just end up where they are. I mean, there are things that they've done through their lives that, sort of determine what they're going to value and what they're going to, and work hard to support. And it's pretty amazing what people are doing.
Yeah.
Mostly women. Just kidding. You have to edit that out.
No. Like I said, I have 3 daughters, and, they all have engineering degrees. They're all in the men's world. I mean, Sabrina's a helicopter pilot for the Coast Guard, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's amazing what women can do. I couldn't do that stuff when I was in my 20s. I mean, it's amazing. So, yeah, I mean, I love what women are doing. And women are really kicking butt in the workplace and in government, and and they are our daughters.
Yeah, and I love that they have had role models, that are paving the way, I mean, even just like athletics, when I was young, there wasn't a professional women's soccer team,
Yeah.
all those things. So, yeah, it's very exciting.
Don't tell little girls they can't do pull-ups, because they can. They can do pull-ups. We've just been telling girls that forever, but
Yeah, my oldest is actually pregnant, and she's due in the fall with my first grandchild. And we just celebrated her 30th birthday. So I was 30 when I had her. She just turned 30. So it's 3 generations, 30 years apart. And
wow.
I just want to live to be 90 to see my granddaughter's 30th birthday.
You're glowing as you say that. I mean, really, you have to live as long as we have to really appreciate what it feels like to be in that moment. It's a gift. It really is. So, well, congratulations, Granny.
Thank you. And thank you for your gift of time today. It's been such a pleasure.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm sorry if I talk too fast. Sometimes I just get excited. So, and next time I'll wear makeup. But today you get the real Ellen. So
you look great. You don't need anything else.
Okay. Well, right. It was a treat for me. So thank you very much, Kendra. Thanks for everything you do at the beaches. You are your own force to be reckoned with. Everybody knows Kendra Robertson. So, and you're always smiling, which I love. So
thank you. So
peace, love.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Find the Connection. I hope today's episode gave you some helpful insights and inspired you to get involved in your community. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review. It helps others find us. And if you're interested in making a move or learning more about Northeast Florida, reach out to me anytime. Let's keep finding the connection together. Until next time, stay connected and keep thriving.